Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You've tuned in to another edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. To the far right, my co-host, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And in the middle, I got a long list. We got former University of South Carolina Gamecock. He had over 727 completions, over 1,209 attempts, 60.1 passing percentage, over 8,555 yards, and 61 touchdowns. The number one touchdown passer in USC history, and Carquest Bowl champion, Steve Taneyhill. What's going on, Steve?
What's up, Steve?
Hey guys,
what's up, man?
Glad to be on with you guys. I appreciate all the nice words.
No problem,
man, for real. So glad to have you.
Yes, sir. For the people that don't know you, Steve, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
If they don't know me, they shouldn't be listening now. Come on now.
There you go.
For real. Come on, man.
Let them know, Steve.
I was born and raised in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Came down here. I came down here in '92 because South Carolina offered me the most money. And oh no, that's these kids now. Oh, my bad. I grew up playing basketball mostly, and then I don't know, I guess about 7th or 8th grade, I figured I was going to be a little bit better at football than I was basketball, so moved more towards football. And my high school coach, John Franco, and I worked, I don't know, I guess when I was in about 7th grade, every Sunday for 5 or 6 years, and taught me how to play the game. And I had 82 offers to play college football, and I only had 8 to play college basketball, so I guess I made the right decision.
Yes, sir.
And it came down to Alabama and South Carolina, and I chose South Carolina, and I don't regret it. In 1992, Alabama won the national championship, but Jay Barker was a starter there as a freshman, and I really chose South Carolina to go and play. I didn't want to go somewhere and sit 2 or 3 years, and when I came on my visit, all the guys were young guys. Brandon Bennett was a freshman, and Toby Cates, and all these guys. Ernest Dye was going to be a senior. Ended up being a number 1 pick, and we had a good freshman class come in, and so here I came in 1992 to the state of South Carolina, and I guess I really haven't left. So pretty good decision.
Yeah, man, that's good. Go ahead, KJ.
Hey, so I know you.
Go ahead.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So I know you said. Yeah, I know you said. I know you like football and basketball. Now, which sport was your first love?
It was probably basketball. I guess because my dad was a basketball coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach in the state of Pennsylvania, and at 2 years old, I was in the gym. And I went to every practice, and I mean, when his teams were playing, I rode the bus, and I mean, I played basketball, and but I love football, and like I said, I played in Pennsylvania. Man, you kind of play the sport by the time of the year. The weather is so much different up there than it is here, and so when you get in the summer you play baseball, in the fall you play football, and then in the winter you play basketball. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But so I guess I grew up first I was basketball, but again I figured out about 7th, 8th grade that I kind of liked football a little bit more.
Cool. So back then, who were some of the quarterbacks that you were following at the time? Was quarterback your position that you first started playing?
Oh yeah, I never really played anything else.
Cool.
I played quarterback. I don't know. I guess growing up, I watched a lot of Joe Montana. He was, he was so good back in those days. But I just watched them all. I remember watching Oklahoma and Nebraska play college football, and I used to go out in the backyard and pretend I was one of those quarterbacks, even though I couldn't really run like those guys. But I just watched all quarterbacks. I watched. I used to watch the game in the first half, and then during halftime, I'd go out in the yard and come back in for the second half, and I'd throw passes to myself, and
Yep.
These kids have it, a lot better. When I was growing up, we didn't have video games. That didn't come till I got like in college. These kids now, I mean, they could sit here and you could learn how to play football by playing Madden or something like that. You could learn plays and all kinds of stuff. But we just had to go do it.
Yeah.
I remember, my mom would say, "Come home and eat when the street lights come on," and that's what we did growing up. I would imagine you guys are, probably in that range. We went outside and played.
Oh yeah.
I mean, whatever the kids in the neighborhood were playing that day, it could be kickball, it could be tag, it could be whatever. Yeah. Whatever the kids were playing, that's what you played.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So you started playing quarterback at I guess elementary, middle school.
Yeah, we up there. You play flag football 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and once you get to 7th grade, then you start tackle.
Okay.
But I played quarterback from day one. There was never a question. I really wanted to play in high school. I played a little free safety, but they didn't really want me to play defense, and I guess the colleges didn't want me to play over there. And but my senior year, I had to play, and so I played free safety. But I always wanted to play defense. I wish I was a defensive end. That was always the dream, to play defensive end. I think that's the best position in all of football. I think it's the most fun to be playing defensive end.
Yeah, cool. So you played quarterback from middle school to high school. Your freshman year of high school, were you starting?
No, in Pennsylvania, you went 7, 8, 9 was junior high.
Oh, okay.
And in complete different schools. And in Altoona, where I grew up, we had Keith Junior High and Roosevelt. That was a big rival. And that football game was on Thursday night of Halloween every year. It's one of the biggest events in the whole city. And so in 9th grade, I was still playing 9th grade football. When I got to 10th grade, then I started at quarterback.
Cool. So you came in at 10th grade. What was your first year's record?
I don't remember. I'd say we were probably like 5-6, 6-5, something like that.
Were you running a spread offense or wing tee? What type of offense?
No, we ran a spread. We were in the spread. Not back then you were under center. We went probably full shotgun my senior year. Would have been 91 high school football. We went under center some, but we were in the shotgun a lot. I caught a lot of plays my senior year. We kind of ran like the hurry up the whole game. We threw it around a lot, but just the game of football has evolved over the years since then to what it is now. Those first days of the shotgun was all 2 minute. Yeah, in Florida State there in about 93 or 94 took that 2 minute and made it the whole game with Charlie Ward. And that's kind of what changed this whole spread was that 90, I think it was 93 or 94 Florida State team, because they went the 2 minute drill the whole game.
Wow.
Hey, so did you make it to the playoffs, or did y'all win any state titles?
No, not in football. My junior year in high school, I had Danny Fortson was in the 9th grade. Danny played about 10 years in the NBA, went to Cincinnati, was like the 5th pick in the NBA draft. He was in the 9th grade, and we went to the state championship, 5A basketball, and we got beat. But we weren't that successful in football. We were much better, as far as success as in team sport was basketball. I think I had maybe one guy on my high school team went to play college football at Boston College, and that was really about it. So we didn't have a lot of guys, go play football. We should have been better, but my junior year, we were pretty good. We went 7-4, but there they picked one school in each little area back then for the playoffs, and there was a team that went 8-3, so they went instead of us. It's a lot different now. It's a lot different here in South Carolina for sure. But back then it was just based on your record. So a lot of teams would just play, down a level just to get the win so they could go to the playoffs. And we didn't do that. We played all the big dogs. Again, we were the 5th biggest high school in the state of Pennsylvania. So that's the teams we played.
Cool, man. So, did you play any all-star games or anything?
I played a local all-star game. We played it in the summer, like in June before I came down here. I came to summer school in '92 before my freshman year to try to, learn the playbook and get, meet the guys and get a class out of the way. Now these kids come in January and then they get to go through spring practice and get all that work. Back in those days, we just came in the summer. Excuse me. You couldn't even really meet with the coaches then. You had to do everything on your own. And the quarterbacks in front of me, they didn't want to help me because they wanted to be the starter, So,
exactly, yeah.
we went out and threw, twice a week at night, but they weren't trying to help me learn, that's for sure.
Wow. Okay. So you go into your freshman year, you leave the high school all-star game that summer, come to USC Carolina. What made you decide to come to Carolina? Let's talk about the recruiting and how many visits did you take before you come to Carolina?
I only took 2. I narrowed it down to 5. Florida State, Miami, UCLA, Alabama, and South Carolina. And
wow.
I came on a Saturday to the 91 Carolina Clemson game. So I came in Friday. I was here for the game. I flew out Sunday. I flew home, and my sister's college was playing near my hometown. So I went and watched her play basketball. Then Alabama picked me up on their private jet. I flew to Alabama and was there Sunday, Monday. They practiced Monday getting ready for the SEC championship game. And then I flew home Tuesday, and I was kind of done with the recruiting at that point. I didn't want to go all the way to California, and Homer Smith was the offense coordinator, and I loved him. And, I would have liked to have played for him, but I knew I wasn't going all the way out there. My parents weren't going to be able to come out there every week. So I think I went to South Carolina for a lot of different reasons. I really felt like I could play right away. We probably would have gone to a bowl game my freshman year if they'd have put me in there before the 6th game of the year. We had the tough schedule at the end when we actually won the games, and we could have won a few of those games at the front end. But I didn't. They put me in They put me against Arkansas, and I threw 2 picks and like 4 passes, but we were getting blown out. I was just trying to make something happen. But Rich Bisaccia was the guy that recruited me, and now Coach Bisaccia is the assistant head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow.
And he's been with John Gruden the whole time. He was in Tampa, now Oakland. He was with the Cowboys. Coached at Clemson. He left South Carolina and went to Clemson, then Ole Miss, and then started in the pros. But I talked to him for 2 years every night at 10:30, every Wednesday night at 10:30. And
wow.
And that was our time to talk, and that was our recruiting call. Back then the coaches could call you as many times as they want, any day of the week. And so, thank goodness they didn't have cell phones back then, because I wouldn't have had one.
No.
My phone at my house, it rang nonstop. But me and Coach Bisaccia just set it up 10:30 every Wednesday. And, and when I came and on my visit, I met all the young guys, and I kind of knew that that's where I wanted to go. And I went to Alabama, and I liked Alabama. But I just felt like I could come in here and play And I knew that I couldn't sit the bench. It's not in me to sit the bench. And,
Exactly.
After 4 or 5 games in Columbia, I was thinking, man, I made a wrong decision. If we're losing and I'm not playing, I could see if we were 5-0 or, if we were averaging 30 points a game, but we were averaging 10 points a game and 0-5, what are we doing? If you're going to lose, you might as well use with young kids. Why use with the older? Why lose with the older kids? And so they finally put me in, and we won some games. But again, like I said, I'm glad I came. I wouldn't change it. I could have a national championship ring, but does that ring mean as much if you don't get in? It's different for other positions. If you play DB or linebacker, at least you get in some. But if you play quarterback, man, it's one guy per team, and you don't get in that much as the backup quarterback. So again, I made the right decision, and I never regretted it, not one time. Especially after going 5-1 my freshman year. That changes your life. It changes your life. I really wish this NIL would have been in place then, because I made more money than that quarterback at Alabama, and they say he's getting paid $800,000. I made way more than that.
All right. Well, I got a clip right here that shows your freshman year, man, when you took over the Gamecocks. Okay, let's check it out real quick.
But it's just part of my personality.
What is your trademark?
A lot of emotion, winning.
Emotion seen in his first ever start when the team was 0-5.
Comes in the huddle and he's screaming and yelling, like, let's go, we got to do this, and we can move the ball on these people and things like that. That let me know he's real excited, and you can just see it in his eyes that he loves playing the game.
The biggest thing is it's hard to get him off the field after we score something. Before the season's over, we're going to have a penalty, I guarantee it.
He does probably what we all wish we would do, and probably are just a little too stick in the mud thought too, I guess.
Say what? A far-out freshman winning over the establishment?
People I thought they would never would come around to Taneyhill now, man, they're around on his side 100%. I'm talking about people that you think would be so conservative, but man, they like Taneyhill.
My name is Sparky. Most people have an impression of me when they meet me, and so I learned quickly that you get past that.
Everyone loves a character and a hero, and he's played that role pretty well. After he does something good, it's just fun to watch what's next, what is he going to do next.
Moves that only Taneyhill can predict, like his plan to start as a true freshman. He ordered his license plates over the summer, and through that sorry September, he pestered his coach.
And I had always told him, I said, Coach, when I start, we're going to win. I guarantee it.
Tannehill's the first to say his teammates, the defense, the special teams, have more to do with winning than he does. His statistics are solid, not super, but stats, like looks, can be deceiving.
He does see the field. He's very bright, and he makes decisions on the run, and he has a great sense of timing and anticipation. Those are all things that you can't, weigh and measure.
Weights and measurements, standards and norms don't explain Taneyhill, whose surprisingly simple essence is defined by a dozen words.
Appearance.
Doesn't matter.
Athletics.
Winning.
Quarterback.
Leadership.
Winning.
Most important thing.
Now, Taneyhill told me he would have gone to Florida State if he'd been guaranteed they wouldn't redshirt him. He wanted a shot right away. And, Craig, he ruled out any school that couldn't live with that long hair and the earring.
Well, let me tell you something. I had 5 offensive linemen at SMU. They were also barbers. He would have been a clean-cut human being in our huddle. I guarantee you that.
Well, Lee had no rule against long hair. He had a long-hair punter, right?
That's right, a hippie punter. Scott Marcus, right. Had an earring.
He could kick and
had a flower in his ear. Everything, yeah.
All right, coming up, the late Charger and the
Craig James. Craig James. No fun, Craig James. He's talking about what did he say, SMU? Where did he play? TCU?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
So
I like the best part about that. They showed me in the library. They had to show me the library to take that. Because I was just a freshman. As a freshman, you know where the study hall is, or you don't know where the library is.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you had an IBM computer back then. You know, I saw you sitting in front of the screen. I said, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
Oh, they took me back. But yeah, man, your freshman year, that's the highlights right there, man. You made a big impression on the campus. Yeah, just like the freshman that's going to Alabama, I think you would have cashed in during that time for real. They had the hats with the ponytails on the back, selling them at the gates. It was doing everything back then. But talk about your first win and how it felt.
Well, I mean, I didn't really play that good. I think I was like 7 of 14. But we jumped on Mississippi State. We played Mississippi State at home. There was only like 30,000 fans there. I mean, we were 0-5. We had the revolt the week before. And Mississippi State comes in and they're loaded, ranked 15th in the country, I think. And I threw an early touchdown pass to Toby Cates, and it just changed the game. But if you go watch that game, Brandon Bennett had 130-some yards rushing, and our defense played outstanding. Our defense was really good that year. I think we ended up – defense only gave up maybe like 12 points a game. The whole season was their average. Man, we were really good on defense. And, when I started, all we did was we went from averaging like 9 points a game to 17. And those 17 points a game with the defensive averaging 12 took us to a 6-1 record or 5-1 record. So, I mean, that's how easy it can happen. That's really what happened. I mean, I just came in and gave us a little spark. And, they said it on that piece. My stats weren't that good, but stats don't tell the whole story sometimes. It's confidence. And in the game of football, the ball bounces your way when you think it's going to bounce your way.
There you go.
When you're not successful, the first bad things happen, you put your head down. If the season's going like that, but as a competitor and a winner, you shake that off and you go to the next play. And that's what we did when we started winning that year is, hey, if we made a bad play, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose the game. You just got to make the next play. And our defense was so good. We played Louisiana Tech, and I think we won 14-13. We didn't score a point on offense. We had a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown. But I'm credited with that win. I mean, we didn't score any points. But we found a way to win, and that's all. The game of football is the ultimate team sport, really and truly. You got to have about 40 or 50 guys that are going to lay it on the line. You guys know. I mean, you got 85 guys on scholarship in college football, but you really got to have about 40 or 50 guys that are truly all in to be successful, because you got to have backups at a lot of positions, and special teams is important. And our defense was so good that year, man. They gave us a lot of opportunities, and when I finally got in, we just scored enough, just scored enough to win, and I guess the rest is history.
Yeah. Go ahead, KJ.
So during your college career, who was the hardest defensive back that you had to face? That pretty gave you a hard time, or it was easy?
And there was a lot of good ones, but no question, it's really not even close. Is the Hall of Famer from Clemson? He just went into Hall of Fame 2 years ago, Brian Dawkins. Yeah. I played against him 4 times. We battled each other 4 times. We were the same year. And he was that good in college, and I tell my kids. When he got inducted, I was like, I played against him. They're like, what? I said, I played against him 4 times, 4 times. But Doc was good, man. You couldn't make any mistakes in the middle of the field with him. He was just so good, and he's probably the best defensive back I played against, hands down. Obviously, I mean, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah. What was so good about him? Was he like showing man and go to another coverage, or
he just covered the field? Like he was just good. He just roamed out there. Back then, you didn't see but about four or 5 coverages. It wasn't a lot of moving parts. Cover 2, cover 3, what we called cover 8. Quarter halves, or just straight man. But with our running game back then, we got a lot of cover 3 because they had to get that safety down in the box. And, you know, a lot of times you take some chances in the middle of the field. I didn't really like throwing over the middle of the field with Doc in there. And he was a big hitter and a tough guy. You know, he could have played strong safety just as easy. But I do remember one game, I think it was my junior year, on the sidelines. I made it look like I was going to step out of bounds, and he was coming, and he slowed up, and I didn't step out. And I trucked him as hard as I could. We didn't fall. Neither one of us fell down, but man, I threw the ball down. I was pumped because he didn't run me over. And I know he would have run me over, but I made it look like I was going to step out of bounds.
So you can set him up for
it. I stepped out, he just slowed down, and I just turned. I wish I had it on film, and I you know, those films are VCRs or something like that. I probably don't have it on film anywhere.
Yes, sir.
But he was a special. You know, when we played Alabama in '92, and they had on that defense, Alabama's 1992 defense, 9 guys eventually got drafted off that defense. They weren't all seniors, but 9 of those 11 got drafted in the 3rd round or earlier. Now that's a defense.
Wow.
You know, 9 out of 11 starters got drafted sometime in there in the first 3 rounds. I mean, that tells you how good they were. And Curry and Copeland went like 4th and 5th in that draft. Those 2 big defensive linemen, you know, played against Kevin Carter. He was kind of scary, you know, 300-pounder with a half shirt on and abs. You know, you kind of see those guys, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So how many bowl games did you participate in?
We only went to one. It was after the '94 season when we switched coaches and Brad Scott came in '94. And we really went to the shotgun, which was much better suited to me. And we had Brandon Bennett and Stanley Pritchard in the backfield.
Okay.
You could do, and we were in the gun, so you could do a lot of different things. And Coach Scott brought a lot of that Florida State stuff with him. And you know, we beat LSU, and LSU was a big time win. And you know, we had to beat Clemson at Clemson that year to get to the bowl game, and we. You know, nothing against it, but we beat them like 34-7. We pounded them that day. And then we got to the bowl game, played West Virginia, and we won. And I was the MVP of that game. But that was a back-and-forth game. It was hot that day in Miami. We played like at 11:45. It was the first game on TV that day. But that was one of the biggest wins ever because it was the university's first bowl win. So that '94 season was pretty incredible.
Well, let's take a look at the highlights from the Carquest Bowl right quick. South Carolina versus West Virginia. Taneyhill was a prolific scorer and did not have a problem letting you know that he got you, okay? So let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Let's see now.
Here comes the blitz. Taneyhill. He'll run. Touchdown! Oh, watch him celebrate now. Steve Taneyhill.
Good catch there.
At the 45, 3rd and 3. Taneyhill comes right. Had a man open, couldn't see him. So he'll run for the first down and more.
He's starting to like that running business. And his football, Shire got the arm back, but never had it moving forward. Taneyhill wants it all on first down. Touchdown, Corey Bridges. If you will. But Taneyhill goes up top on first down and a quick strike for 6.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jose Canseco.
Hey, we were allowed to celebrate back then.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get a 15-yard penalty.
Man, you brought a lot of energy to the Gamecocks, man. It's like I say, it's not too many people that would celebrate like you did when they scored. I mean, you would celebrate with the running back or the receiver the same way, like as if you did it, you know. But that was the energy.
Here's
and the
how I look
leadership.
at it, man. And you guys know, you go out there and practice all the time. You lift all the weights, you do all the running, and you get 11 games to go out there and have fun. And if you're not enjoying it, I mean, you might as well go do something else, because I hated lifting weights. I hated conditioning. I hated practice. But you got to do it if you want to play. And I was going to have fun. I mean, I had fun. And and obviously winning is the most fun, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, I was going to have fun on Saturdays. I felt like I put my time in. I was going to have fun. And every Monday morning when I lifted weights and it hurt to lift because you're so sore, I said to myself every Monday, I mean, I'm going to have more fun next Saturday, because if this is what I got to go through on Mondays, I'm going to make it worth it on Saturdays.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Stephen McNulty said, no question, my favorite quarterback ever. Yes,
all right,
sir.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead. So you win the Carquest Bowl. You know, you played a lot of good teams in the SEC, like Tennessee, Alabama, just like you said earlier. Talk about the difference between Sparky Woods and Brad Scott.
Well, it was a big difference. You know, the University of South Carolina, when they brought Coach Woods from App State, you know, we had gone through the steroid scandal and all that. And they really brought him to clean up the program. When we brought Coach Scott, you know, we had entered into the SEC, and he came from Florida State. And I think they brought him to, you know, the offense, to put people in the stands, to get better athletes in here. And you know, I don't think they gave him they should have gone to another bowl game, Deuce Staley's senior year. They went 7-6, I think, or 6-5, and they didn't go. But when Coach Scott came in, it changed everything about me. He really developed me as a quarterback. Coach Bussell was our offense coordinator, and they brought him in from from Virginia Tech. And because you're in the shotgun and you're throwing it 30 times a game, you got to develop the quarterback. And I learned so much my junior and senior year, you know, that I didn't learn under center, you know, basically in the pro I set. And you know, it's just different. The game, it changed how I looked at football. It definitely made, you know, I went on to coach along, you know, 16 years. And because I had those different coaches, it made me a better coach, because you learn so much. You know, I knew how to get under center and play in the pro I, but I also learned how to get in the shotgun and have 4 wides or 3. And, you know, it was just different, complete different mentality. Coach Scott had come from a national championship team, and, you know, he did everything the Bobby Bowden way. That's where he learned how to coach. And so, you know, I had to tell Coach Scott one day in the summer, you know, during camp, he was walking around with Florida State shorts on one day. And, you know, I said, Coach, man, what you doing? What you mean, Steve? I said, man, you got on Florida State shorts. You don't coach there anymore. I said, and don't think that every guy on this team doesn't see that. I mean, it's a little tiny thing, but he's like, man, I didn't even, because we were both burgundy. He's like, I didn't even notice. I said, well, you walk through that locker room, them guys are going to notice. And, but we did everything Florida State did, is really what, you know, it changed a lot of us. I like Coach Scott. A lot of the other guys, you know, anytime there's a coaching change, some guys aren't going to like it, and some guys are, and that's just how it goes. But me as a quarterback, it made me 100 times better player my last 2 years than my first 2, for sure.
All right, cool.
All right. So after USC, did you try for any NFL teams?
Well, I didn't get drafted. I got signed as a free agent by Jacksonville. They cut me. They sent me to NFL Europe. So I went over to I played for Germany for a season over there, and Jacksonville re-signed me. But when I came, in between coming home, they had the draft. They drafted somebody in the 6th or 7th round, and that was it. I played two weeks in the Arena League in New York City, and I was supposed to go back the next spring, and I took the job at Cambridge Academy coaching, and probably the smartest move I ever made was, hanging up the cleats and getting into coaching.
All right, cool. So, who was the guy that inspired you to coach? And also, who was the teammate that kept you on track at USC at the moments when you felt like you didn't, it was too banged up to play? A guy just kept you motivated as well as yourself.
I think I was the guy that kept everybody else motivated. Okay. That's one job of the quarterback, is being a leader, and I never missed a game. So once I started there in '92, I started 40 straight in a row. And there was a bunch of days that, I didn't want to go to practice or was too banged up. But I think as the quarterback, you got to lead and lead by example. And there were a bunch of guys that, football was different back then. We went out and had good times in the weekdays and after games, and those kids don't do those things anymore. And we lived in the same dorm. Kids, the teams don't do that now. We were always around each other because you lived in a dorm. If you wanted to go eat wings, and you just had to go knock on a couple doors. Hey, anybody want to go eat? Little things like that. Or on Tuesday night was card night. It'd be 2 or 3 rooms where you go get in a card game, for $1 or $2 and play. And those things kind of changed as time went on, and now you don't really have the athletic dorms. Now you have cell phones, I understand, or guys live together or whatever. But back then, if you didn't go to class, someone knew you didn't go to class, or someone was in the class with you. Hey, make sure that knock on my door, make sure I'm going. And little things like that. But yeah, as far as I kind of look at myself as the guy to keep everybody not in check, because trust me, I didn't do everything right, but I was the one that make sure everyone was at practice and did the little things as far as football was concerned. I was also the one that said, hey, let's go out tonight or after the game. Let's do those things. Because again, once you put the work in, man, and you go out there and leave it on the field, I looked at it as, man, I need to have some fun off the field as well. You don't want to go to college and, everything's books and football. You got to learn. You got to figure your way through life. Those days, you're 20, 21, 22, and you don't know unless you go,
There you go. And the coach that inspired you to coach?
Coach Scott always told me I'd be a good coach. But I never thought I'd have enough patience. But my dad was a, coach, like I said, Hall of Fame basketball coach in Pennsylvania. And my sister was the head coach of George Mason's women's basketball. And so I guess that coaching is in the family. But I never thought I'd have the patience to coach until I did it. And it's as close to playing as you can get. And as the quarterback, you're the leader and you feel like you're in control. Well, as the head coach, you are in control. And so it fit my personality to get into it. And I started out, coaching 8-man football and we had a good team and this big 6'3" 10th grader walks through the door one day and says, Coach, I came to Cambridge to play basketball, but I want to play football. And it changed his life. So getting into coaching was, again, I did it 17 years, I guess, and I'm not doing it anymore and don't want to do it. But, it was the right to get out of, playing, going to arena football. I just didn't feel like the pro game was what I liked about college football. And I guess if you go to the NFL and you're a starter or, the money's so good, you're going to do it as long as you can. But in the arena league, it's not like that, and I just didn't want to. Once I got 1 year of coaching, I felt like I was going to do that forever. Man, it was so close to being a player again.
Cool. So go ahead and talk about that 6'3" sophomore that came through Cambridge and went on to play where?
He played at Clemson. we tried to get him to South Carolina, and Lou Holtz said he didn't go to a big enough high school. And,
wow.
I didn't go around the university the entire time Lou Holtz was there. And, Charlie Strong was the defensive coordinator. And when Gaines, got his chance to play at Clemson, Coach Strong called me and said, "Hey, I made a mistake. I should have listened to you. The next time you have a guy that you think can play, you call me." And I tell you this, Charlie kept his word, because when I was at Union, I had a kid played wideout, and I called him. I said, "This kid, he's a basketball player. He's a D1 wideout." He said, "All right, send me his film," and he offered him. And Charlie kept his word, but Gaines did the right thing and went to Clemson. And I'll never forget when he came to my house and said, "Hey, Coach, I'm going to go to Clemson." I said, "Hey, it's your decision." He's like, "You mad?" I said, "No, I'm not mad, big guy." But it was a great decision for him. And I went to a couple of Clemson games and watched him play, and it worked out. Fourth pick in the draft, and he worked, and he grew a little taller. He grew to 6'6" and gained weight. But his work ethic and determination is what took him from that 8-man football field, to being the fourth pick in the draft. And he's not with us anymore, but he was a special person and obviously a great football player.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it, man. I was gonna say, go ahead, KJ.
Yeah, so dude, I know he got a son. Is his son still playing, or?
I don't know. Gaines, would that be Gaines the fourth, I think, and I'm not sure if he's in. It'd be about time for him to be in high school. It would be time. I'm not sure if he lives in Greenwood or Greenville. So I've always tried to look in the paper and see. I'm not around high school football anymore, so I don't know. But I always thought, his mom was tall. Gaines was tall. Obviously, that he's probably a big, tall kid, for sure. But
I know
Gaines was a great person, man. Great. And even when he went to Tampa, I used to go down every spring and spend 3 or 4 days. We'd charter a fishing boat and go fishing or play golf. And Gaines wasn't that good at golf, but he could hit it a mile. He just didn't know where it was going. But we stayed in contact. I talked to Gaines every Monday after every NFL game. Did you watch? Yeah, I watched. Big guy, I watched. So, he's just, one of those kids you come across as a coach that, you help. And we've always said it, a kid that plays sports is always going to be influenced more by a coach than a teacher. Because as a coach, you are a teacher. I mean, you're just doing it on the athletic field or on the court or wherever. And, football, you just got more kids. Football, you got 60, 70, 80 kids on a team. You're going to influence those kids. And, Gaines was a special one. I had a lot of special ones over the 16 years. I had Coach Shy Smith at Union, and I went and watched him at practice day. He got drafted by the Panthers, and the Panthers are here in Spartanburg. And so I went to the Panthers practice today to watch him. So, all those years of coaching, I've had a lot of great players, but, Gaines was that first one that, he was special, and it came full circle to now I got one that I coached playing for the Panthers. So, and I was fortunate to have a lot of good players as a coach.
Cool. So we appreciate you coming on the show, Steve. Didn't want to take too much of your time. It was a great podcast. Any shout outs you want to give to any family, friends, or fans, former coaches, players?
Well, Toby Cates and I, he called me, and he's the one who told me that, come on the show. I appreciate you guys having me. You're wearing a Carolina shirt, but you're really a Clemson man, so I appreciate that. I know that we don't do that in my house. I do have 2 sons, so one, and they're twin 9-year-olds. One is a Clemson fan, and I don't know why. And then Gray is a Carolina fan, so I do got to put up with it. And we don't have the flag, that says split households. I'm not putting anything out there that's orange.
Okay.
I got to deal with it in their room, and I got to deal with it when he wears the Clemson shirts. But we're Gamecocks, man. We're Gamecocks here.
Well, no problem, man.
Hey, man. So how is it on game day though? When y'all watching, the rivalry game, Clemson against Gamecocks, man. Like how's the household?
It's not any fun because Clemson keeps beating us. We can't get the upper hand. So once we get back to playing some football in Columbia, man, it'll be a lot more fun from this side.
Yeah, and you got a plan for them? What they need, man?
They need the in-state recruits, and we got to find a quarterback. If you look at what Clemson's done, they just went through, a 7-year period with two of the best quarterbacks. Right. I mean, the 12th pick in the draft and the number 1 pick in the draft. And you're going to be able to get a lot of guys to come to play with those guys being a quarterback. I mean, you can pick your wideouts. I got a lot of respect for Dabo, man. What he's done up there is unbelievable. And he was on the 1992 Alabama team, and I met him on my visit. So I've known Dabo a long, long time, and got a lot of respect for what he's done at Clemson. And it's done a lot for the state of South Carolina, trust me. But if we can get to that level, this state, I mean, it'd be unbelievable here to have 2 teams. Now, South Carolina has a little bit harder. We do play in the SEC. I mean, right now in the ACC with Florida State and Virginia Tech and Miami not being as good as they used to be, it's just not the same. If Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Miami will get back, it'll change that conference. But right now in our conference, man, I mean, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, A&M, it's just a tough road to win that conference.
So what's your take on Texas and Oklahoma coming in there as well?
Well, I put something out. I was watching Feinbaum yesterday, and it says tweet Feinbaum or whatever. So I tweeted him. I said, University of Texas is the Dallas Cowboys of college football. Every year they're going to be the greatest team in August, and then they play the season. And as soon as the season starts, they're not any good. I watched the NFL channel today, and they were at Dallas. Dallas hasn't won a playoff game in like 20 years, but every year we talk about how good Dallas is. So Texas coming in, I don't think they'll be anything. Oklahoma, that's a powerhouse. Oklahoma is a powerhouse. They've had the number 1 draft pick. About 3 years back. I mean, and Oklahoma will change our conference, but Texas. Now, maybe Sarkisian can get it back rolling, but Texas has got their last 3 head coaches were the biggest head coaches that they could pay for, and they're still 7-6. So, I mean, Steve Spurrier said it today. Texas can't win the Big 12, let alone compete in the SEC. Ooh. I mean, Spurrier's the greatest one-liner. He'll just say it, man. He's awesome. And he said someone must have asked him, and he said it. Yeah. Texas can't win their conference. How are they going to win this one? But obviously that meant Oklahoma's for real. So, and more power to them. I love when these schools come in and play it. It doesn't, for us, University of South Carolina, it just makes another big home game, and another place to go travel that you would never go to. I've always wanted to go to a game in Austin, Texas. So this would give me an opportunity and a reason to go, So I'm all for it. Make it better. It's going to make the other conferences, especially it goes to the 12-team playoff. It's going to make these other conferences get better, or we're going to get 6 teams out of the SEC in the 12.
So, any advice for a kid going to college or trying to make it to the next level now that they're getting paid a little bit? I'd
say don't worry about the next level. Worry about that level. Okay. If you're a junior high player or middle schooler, don't look ahead to college. You got to go be good in high school first. Mm-hmm. And if you're a high school player, and instead of looking at the NFL, go find a school where you can go play and be successful. They're going to help you develop your talents. There's a lot of number one players or 5 stars that don't make anything when they go to college. There's also a lot of 2 stars that get in that college and end up playing on Sunday. So you got to work for everything you get and, work your game. But if you want to go play basketball in your high school, go play. Play as many sports as you feel like you can compete in. I always like kids playing 2 sports. I thought the 3 sports was a little much because now in the summers, it's just so intense, and if you're a baseball player, these kids are figuring out at 6 years old they want to play baseball and they don't ever play anything else because all the travel balls. I don't think that's right. I think play the sports until you get up into high school, play them all, see what you like, see what you like. Again, I played 3 sports in high school, and after my junior year, I didn't play baseball anymore. I didn't want to play baseball anymore. I liked it, but I figured I had to go work at football and basketball, and then I wasn't going to play basketball my senior year, but I knew we were going to be good, and Danny Fortson was so good, and I wanted to play with him, and obviously ended up playing in the NBA. So I made the right decision to go have some fun and play basketball. But that's what I would tell these kids. You got to work. If you're a 5-star and you go to college, that doesn't mean you're going to the NFL. It means you're expected to be this good, but you still got to work because everybody there that's on a scholarship is trying to outwork you. And if you look at it, you look what Tom Brady's done. He still uses being the 199th selection as motivation, and he's turned in from a 5th-round pick to the greatest player that we'll ever see play the game of football. So that ought to tell you, it isn't. You got to go work. Go work.
Still playing this year.
Right. And he was the 199th pick, and he still uses that as motivation. So it isn't where you start out this thing. If you can be a 2-star and still play on Sundays. It's what you do when you step in. You guys know every player is the same when you walk in the door at college football. Now you're expected as a 5-star to be better, but you can get beat out if you're not going to help that coach win football games and save his job. So they're going to put the best players on the field at some point. At some point, the best players are going to play.
Cool.
That's right.
Well, we thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate y'all guys having me. I guess I'll see you at the golf tournament next Saturday.
Yes, sir. August the 7th.
Wishing nothing but success on the show. Right. If you ever need anything, you got my number. And I've enjoyed this. It's been fun.
Thank you, Steve. Hey, you're a Hall of Fame quarterback in my eye. I grew up throwing the ball in the backyard. Taneyhill back to pass. That's what you deal with other guys. All right. So
you guys have a good one, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Our motto is, KJ, it's not how you start, it's how you what?
Hey, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, man.
That's right.
Exactly,
That's
man.
it.
You guys be safe. You just tuned in to another edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. To my far right, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And we would like to thank today's special guest, former Gamecock quarterback, all-time great, Steve Taneyhill.
Appreciate it, guys.
Until next time, tune in. You guys be safe. Have a good one.